What's up everyone, China Cycling here, and we're here today with this, the brand new L-TWOO eRX fully electronic hydraulic disc brake road bike group set. Today I'm going to be walking through the group set, telling you what it is, how much it costs, how much it weighs, and how it rides. Let's check it out. So what does the group set consist of? So this is a small group set, which means you've got two shifters, a front derailleur, a rear derailleur, and then the electronic gubbins. So it's like the modern Shimano stuff. The front shifters are wireless, but in the front derailleur, the rear derailleur, and the battery are all connected with a wire. So at the front you've got your two shifters, each with a small battery inside, a CR232, a battery in the seat post, connected to the front and rear derailleur via a wire. Everything talks to the rear derailleur, that's kind of like the master, and then the rear derailleur through the electric cables sends a signal to the front derailleur when it needs to shift. It's 12 speeds at the back, 2 speeds at the front, hydraulic disc brakes, which are similar to last year's RX hydraulic group set. They work fine. They've been slightly refined now, so the travel of the lever isn't as long, and yeah, eager to try it. In terms of weight, they say it's around about Ultegra or 105 in terms of weights, but that's lighter than Force and lighter than Red. So let's go get changed and take it for a spin and see how it rides. So yeah, out on the road riding with the group set, it actually comes pretty naturally, especially if you've used a wireless group set before. But yeah, similar sort of shifting logic to Shimano Di2. The brakes, super good, well improved from the first version of the RX from last year. One finger braking, no problem. And yeah, the shifting, it's quick, it's responsive. The front derailleur, as I say, is pretty aggressive. And yeah, it gets the shifting done, but it's super snappy. In their presentation, I think they said the rear derailleur. So from pressing the button to shift to the signal going to the rear derailleur takes 22 milliseconds. And then from pressing the button to go into the rear derailleur for the change to finish is about 80 to 90 milliseconds. So yeah, super quick shifting, and yeah, it's good. I'm impressed with my first ride. So up front on the shifters, we've got carbon fiber levers. So this is the RX version. Later there'll be an R9 version with alloy shifters and a bit cheaper, a bit heavier, but this is their cream of the crop, the ERX version. So carbon fiber shifters, and then you've got two buttons here, so one for shifting up and one for shifting down. The shape of the shifter is similar to last year's hydraulic cable actuated group sets, which in my hands is super comfortable, but you'll see how you get on here. One thing when riding it I did find, if your hands are at the top, then these buttons with your pinky can be a little hard to reach. I've got pretty small hands and I can still reach them, so it shouldn't be a problem for most people. But if you've got really small hands, the top of the shifters might be a little bit hard to reach. But when you're in the drops, absolutely fine. You can shift with your pinky, obviously two little buttons, super easy. Speaking of the shifting is super crisp. We took it for a ride today. So this island that we're on is Dongal Island. It's a paradise for cycling. There's hardly any cars. It's a super small island, but it's a great place to test a group set because there are no flat roads on this island. It's either all uphill or all downhill. So your front chainring's always shifting, your rear's always shifting, and a great place to test a group set. One other cool feature of the group set I noticed while riding is that the front derailleur actually has an auto trim feature. So obviously with some mechanical group sets you have like a half position on the front derailleur. For this it's fully automated, so if you're in the small cog at the back, then the front derailleur will kind of hang out to the right, and then as you go up the gears at the back, the front derailleur will slowly move to the left so that you don't get any chain rubbing on the cage of the front derailleur. Super cool feature. I mean, you should never ride cross-chained with a big chainring and big cassette, or the small chainring and small cassette, but if you do that, you're not going to get any rubbing on the front mech because it's got this auto trim feature. A very cool feature, somewhat cool, and yeah, it's good to see them taking care of these small kind of details. So for the gearing at the front, we've got a compact chainring with 50-34 chainrings, and at the back we've got a 12-speed cassette that goes from 11 all the way up to 32 teeth.
So you got a 34-32, almost 1-to-1 ratio, and you have to get you up almost any hills. And then because you've got 12 speeds at the back, the gaps between gears are nice and small. There's never a gear where your cadence is too high or too low. Speaking of the cassette, like I said earlier, this is just a small group set, so just shifters and derailleurs. They don't currently offer their own cassette and chain, but it works with any 12-speed cassette and chain on the market. I'm told it works fine with Shimano if that's your thing, but here we've got a Chinese brand called Sunrace, I think, and a KMC chain. Chainrings seem to be just your standard Shimano 11, 12-speed chainrings, so you'll get on fine with those. When I was riding it the shifting at the back is super crisp. You click, it goes, what more could you want? The front shifting is also super aggressive. I don't know what's going on at the front, but it goes from small to big and big to small, super quick, super aggressive. I'll put in some footage of it shifting here. So we had about 15 guys, a bunch of the media and cyclists and whatnot, going up and down constantly. No one had a dropped chain, everyone was fine. I heard no dodgy shifting. Some of the shifts are a bit loud, but it shifts.
Now, in terms of pricing and availability, the R9 aluminum version will retail for about $500 US for the group set, consisting of the shifters, the brakes, the front and rear mech, and the electronic gubbins. Whereas the high-end carbon RX version will retail for around $650 US. Now, availability is an area that L-TWOO have lacked in the past, but this is an area that I'm happy to say there's going to be a huge improvement. So, to cut a very long story short, I've recently started my own company called Panda Podium. It's going to be a cool little website where you guys can buy all the best Chinese bike stuff. I've been working on this plan for literally years, and it's not 100% ready to announce everything just yet, but L-TWOO will be one of the brands available on that site. So if you want a reliable place to get your hands on this group set, head on over to pandapodium.cc and sign up for the newsletter now, and then I'll be announcing details on there when we go live. Again, I'll be sharing a lot more details on Panda Podium going forwards. It is a huge passion project of mine, and I think you guys are going to love it too. Now, anyway, let's get back to looking at this group set.
For rear derailleur, in terms of chain retention, look pretty strong spring. So actually at this launch event, there are a few different versions on a few different bikes, it seems. Some of them seem to be more prototype pre-production versions, and some of them are more finished. The one on this bike is somewhere in the middle, I think. So I'll be doing a full review when I get my hands on a production version. But at the moment, first impressions of this version is riding well. So this is a world exclusive look at this group set. If you're liking what you're seeing, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. When the full review comes out, I'll be posting that, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. So the brakes were performing superbly. Like I said, this island, it's all uphill and downhill. Super steep hills, I think I saw 15-16% on some of it. And you can bomb down the hill and one finger pulling the brakes and it just shreds off speed. At the moment, we've got some unbranded 160mm rotors on the front and rear. And yeah, one finger braking all day long, not a problem. I'm going to throw back to the hotel to show you some of the weights of it. I had a bit of a cheeky weigh-in yesterday, and let's see how much it weighs. So I have part of the eRX group set with me here, which I stole from their office last night, and I have a trusty scale of death because I know you're all waiting to see the weights. So let's take a look. So let's start with the rear derailleur. Let's look at the weight first. So 275.5 grams. Okay, let's check out the front derailleur then. 139 grams on the dot. So now let's check out the weight of the shifters. So right hand shifter 222, left hand shifter 223. So if we add all that up, we get to a system weight of about 1,319 grams, which is about 300 grams heavier than the latest Derailleur Di2 and a little bit heavier than Ultegra Di2, but a bit lighter than 105 DO2. And then it's actually lighter than SRAM Red, Force and Rival Axis because, well, those group sets are just pretty heavy. Now, there are tons of more details to go into with this group set. There's a very cool app for setting up and adjusting the group set. There's also details on how to micro adjust the gears while you're riding, etc, etc. These days, you can probably hear from my voice, I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm just trying to get this video done and out there.
I have my very own group set on the way to make a much more detailed review and go a lot more in depth. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys want to see in that video, and I'll include that in my full review. Now next week I'm off to the Taipei bike show, so just a super busy couple of weeks here, and quite frankly I am exhausted. Anyway,
make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the full review when that comes out. I'm going to get a set, build it up on my own bike and see what I learn as I'm building it up. Subscribe so you don't miss that. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And as always, I'll see you next time. China Cycling out.